Mama, please.
The city buzzed with life as always. Taxis honked, sirens wailed, street vendors shouted their final prices, and somewhere above all that noise, on the 8th floor of a cream-coloured high-rise, peace lived at least for now. Amaka stood on the balcony, the early evening breeze brushing her cheek as she watched the sun disappear behind glass towers. She had just finished sweeping, folding laundry, and warming a pot of okra soup when her phone buzzed. One message from Chuka. Mama and Ngozi should reach any time from now. Please take care of them. You know how village people are. Amaka exhaled slowly. They didn't call ahead. Again? Still, she went back inside, straightened the cushions on the sofa, made sure the guest room was clean, and lit a mild-scented candle not too strong, because Mama always complained about city smells. And right on cue, at 6:34 p.m, the intercom rang. The gate security's voice crackled through. Madam, 2 women day here. Dem say dem be your husband, people. One wear wrapper and carry 2 bag. The other one day snap selfie. Amaka sighed. Let them come up. She stood at the door, composed, waiting. Knock, 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 knock. It wasn't the kind of knock you give a loved one. It was sharp, impatient, and loud like a warning bell. She opened it with a smile. Mama, welcome. Mama Chuka stepped in without responding. Her face was hard, lips folded tightly like she was chewing bitterness. Her wrapper was stiff, her slippers dusty, and her hand fan already working overtime like the city heat offended her personally. Ngozi followed, pulling a pink mini suitcase and holding a plastic bag of snacks. Amaka, Mama said finally, eyeing the living room. So this is how you live? Amaka blinked. Yes, Ma. Hope your journey was smooth. Smooth, Kay? Ngozi cut in. From village to this wicked Lagos? My back nearly broke. Mama walked around the room slowly, as if judging every item. She touched the curtain, looked at the wall art, opened the fridge without asking. This flat is big-o, she said sharply. Chuka is really doing well. He's carrying your family like cross on his back. Amaka forced a smile. No, Mama, we manage. We thank God. Ngozi flopped on the couch and brought out groundnut from her bag. This your parlour no get television subscription? Amaka opened her mouth to answer, but Mama was already heading for the guest room. Ah, Mama, I set the guest room for you. No need, she said, entering the master bedroom. I'll stay here. My bones are not young again. That guest room bed is too soft it'll scatter my waist. Amaka froze. But Mama, this is our room. I'm your husband's mother, she snapped. Or have you forgotten that if not for me, you wouldn't even be in this family? Ngozi cackled from the parlour. Just shift small-o. We don't want village spirit to enter you. Amaka moved aside. Mama threw her bag on the bed, took off her wrapper, and started unpacking like she owned the place. Amaka stood there, speechless. That night was only the beginning. Dinner time came. Amaka served okra soup with simo and made sure to add Fish Mama's favourite. But when Mama took her first bite, she spat into her napkin. What is this? Okra soup, Mama. I made it fresh this evening. Mama hissed. You call this soup? It tastes like sorrow. Ngozi sniffed it dramatically. Maybe she added city water. You know, the one that makes wounds dry. Amaka paused, the ladle still in her hand. The insult hung in the air like smoke. She didn't respond. She just picked up her own plate and ate in silence. By midnight, she was still awake folding clothes in the passage because Mama had locked her out of her own bedroom. Yes, Mama had said, I don't like sharing air with people that carry bad luck. Ngozi didn't even offer her space in the guest room. She shut the door and blasted loud music until Amaka gave up and rolled a wrapper beside the kitchen door. And in the early morning hours, as the city began to yawn awake, Amaka heard the sound of laughter. Mama and Ngozi were in the bedroom gossiping. She's too proud, Mama whispered, always looking like one silent witch. That's why God has locked her womb. Maybe she aborted Chuka's child before marriage, Ngozi said. Those city girls don't respect blood. And then came the final blow. She should better know that without a child, she's nothing but a visitor in this marriage. Amaka closed her eyes. She didn't cry, but her hands gripped the wrapper tightly, because something inside her had started to shift. Something cold, something angry. And even though she didn't say it out loud, deep in her heart, a voice whispered, "This house is mine, but let them enjoy it for now." The following morning was unusually still. No bird song, no clatter from the compound, just the faint hum of the fridge and the sound of slippers shuffling down the hallway. Amaka had already been up since 5. She had swept the corridor, wiped down the kitchen counter, and boiled water for Mama's morning tea. She though hoped maybe today would be different. A little peace, even a little respect. She was wrong. "Mama," she said softly, stepping into the room with the tray, "your tea is ready." Mama sat on the bed, tying her scarf. She didn't even look at Amaka. "Drop it there," she muttered. "And next time, don't add milk. I've told you already milk is for children, not people with knees that ache." "I'm sorry," Amaka said, placing the tray gently on the stool. Ngozi walked in, still in her nightwear, stretching and yawning dramatically. "Ah, good morning all," she said loudly, then looked at the tray. "Tea again? That's the 3rd time this week. Are we now in a boarding school?" Mama laughed sharply. "This one wants to turn me into a Lagos, madam. Next thing, she'll bring me breakfast in bed and ask me to pay rent." Ngozi giggled. "She better bring rent herself. 3 years now, and she hasn't brought one child to this house." The words landed like acid. Amaka kept her face calm, but her hands trembled slightly. She gripped the hem of her dress behind her back. They didn't stop. "She thinks marriage is about posting photos and buying matching shirts," Mama added, sipping her tea with a loud slurp. "No belly, no child, and she's still walking around like a peacock. She should be fasting instead," Ngozi said, plopping down on the couch. "Not eating all the rice in this house." And that was where it began. That day, Amaka cooked fried rice for lunch. She boiled chicken, seasoned it carefully, and set the table. She waited for them to join her. But no one came. An hour passed. Then Mama called from the bedroom. "Don't worry about us. We're fasting." Ngozi chimed in. "We're seeking God's face about the barrenness in this house. Maybe the heavens will finally open." Amaka packed the food and left it covered. She didn't touch a plate. The next day, it happened again. She made yam porridge, waited. No one came, no one ate. But when she returned to the kitchen an hour later, she found all the meat gone. The pot was half empty, and no one admitted to eating anything. Mama simply said, Maybe it's the rat spirits that feed in this house. Or maybe God is answering prayers. Ngozi added, "You better tie your womb with pepper if you want to keep a man in this house." That evening, Amaka went to the guest bathroom to cry, just for a minute. She didn't sob loudly. She didn't want them to hear. But the walls in the flat were thin. As she stepped out of the bathroom, wiping her eyes, she heard Mama's voice behind the door. "She thinks crying will bring children. I cried too in my time, but I still gave birth to 3 sons. Not these new generation women who spend their time watching YouTube instead of praying at night." Amaka walked away. Quietly, head down. By the 5th day, the punishment was clear. No one would give her food, no one would eat what she cooked, and if she dared to eat alone, Ngozi would walk in, take her spoon, and use it to stir the mop bucket. "There's no need for plates," Ngozi had said once. "Wives who don't give children should eat from the floor like stray dogs." Amaka didn't argue. She stopped setting the table. She stopped asking. At night, when they had their own food delivered or prepared something secretly, she would lie in bed, stomach growling, staring at the ceiling fan. Sometimes she chewed dry Gary just to have something in her mouth. One evening, she found herself in the kitchen, quietly licking the side of an empty pot. There was barely anything in it, just oil residue and a scent of stew, but it felt like gold. That same night, Ngozi came into the living room, waving a sanitary pad in her hand like a trophy. "Look, Mama, she's bleeding again. That womb is still counting empty cycles. The clock is ticking. Oh!" Mama laughed so hard she nearly fell over. "Maybe we should invite a spiritualist or do a womb cleansing. My son didn't marry a woman, he married a barren cupboard." Ngozi snapped a photo of the pad blood, but clearly staged it and sent it into her cousin's group chat. Guess who still hasn't missed her period? Then came the weekend. Amaka prepared yam and egg sauce and quietly ate in the kitchen, hoping they wouldn't notice. She rinsed her plate immediately and packed everything away. But as she stepped into the living room, Mama stood waiting. "You're now hiding to eat?" she asked, arms folded. Amaka's heart skipped. "No, Mama, I just didn't want to disturb anyone." "You think we don't know what you're doing?" Mama stepped closer. "Sneaking into this family with your spiritual dryness. God is watching you, and so are we." Ngozi appeared from behind with her phone. "She's now eating like a thief. I told you, Mama, we should tie a bell around her neck." Amaka stood still. No reply, no cry, no defense. She simply walked past them, entered the corridor, and shut the door to the bathroom, not to bathe, not to hide, just to sit. To sit and breathe, to remember who she was before all of this. Because in this house, her silence was her only armor, and they didn't know it yet. But she was building something, quietly, one bitter moment at a time. The air in the house had changed. Not by much, just a little tighter, a little tenser, like something invisible was wrapping around Amaka's neck every time she stepped out of the bathroom or reached for the fridge. Her stomach hurt now, not just from hunger, but from exhaustion, from pretending. And that evening, as she stood at the sink washing the same 2 plates she had used for the past 3 days, the quiet ache inside her snapped. She wiped her hands on her wrapper, walked to the balcony, and picked up her phone. Her fingers hovered over his name, Chuka. Her husband? She stared at the screen for a long time, debating. She hadn't wanted to disturb him. He was still out of town handling some contract bids in Ghana, staying late in meetings. But this was too much. She pressed call. It rang and rang. Then click. Hello, babe. His voice was calm, low, slightly distracted. Amaka closed her eyes. Chuka, she whispered. Yes, I'm here. How are you? Everything okay? No, she said quickly before her voice could break. I can't keep pretending. Your mum and Ngozi there making things unbearable for me. Pause. He didn't answer immediately. She continued, They've turned the house upside down. They insult me every day. There's no peace, Chuka. I haven't slept in our room since they arrived. They've taken over everything. They won't let me cook. I'm starving. I'm tired. Another pause. She waited, her breath shallow, heart pounding. Finally, he exhaled softly. I understand, Amaka. Please, just take heart. Try and manage. I'll be back soon. Amaka blinked, holding the phone tighter. Manage? Chuka, I'm not a tenant. This is my home too. I know, he said quickly, his voice a little heavier now. But you know how my mum is. She's old. From the village. That's how they behave. Don't take it personal. I'm not taking it personal, Amaka snapped. I'm telling you that I'm suffering. I am being insulted, humiliated, and... Before she could finish, she heard another beep. Incoming call. Mama. She ignored it, continued. I'm begging you, Chuka, talk to her. If you don't, I don't know what I'll do. Okay, he said. I'll speak to her. Just be patient. I'll come home next week. Next week. Another 7 days of this. 7 days of lies and empty plates and cruel laughter. All right, Amaka whispered. Thank you for understanding, Chuka said, his voice already fading like he was reaching for something else somewhere else. I love you. She didn't reply. She ended the call. Her eyes stayed on the city skyline for a while. The traffic, the towers, the orange sky melting into grey. But inside, her world was anything but peaceful. Mama sat on the bed, phone to her ear, eyes sharp. Yes, Chuka, it's me. Your wife wants to kill me with stress in this house. She rolled her eyes as if performing. She hasn't cooked since morning. I'm the one doing everything. Me, your mother. I even swept the parlour with my own hands today. You need to talk to her. She doesn't greet. She walks around like a landlord. Ngozi laughed from the corner, holding her phone to her mouth to muffle the sound. Mama continued, voice now trembling. I don't feel safe in this house again. Imagine I opened the pot and saw dry rice. No stew, not even salt. How can you marry a woman who treats your family like animals? A pause. Mama listened. Then she smiled. Yes, my son, you're the only one who understands. I don't even want to stay long. I'm planning to leave. But this girl is ungrateful. After everything we've done for her. Ngozi mimed a crying face dramatically. Mama nodded at her, then added a final blow. She even told me to leave your room and go back to the village. Can you imagine the insult? She ended the call slowly and leaned back. Ngozi looked up. What did he say? Mama grinned. He said he'll talk to her, but he won't rush home. He's tired. I told him we'll survive the witch. They both burst out laughing. Later that night, Amaka sat in the dark kitchen, sipping lukewarm water. It was her only meal for the day. She didn't know what hurt more, her mother-in-law's lies or her husband's silence. She remembered when Chuka used to send her lunch during her office hours, when he'd call twice a day just to check in. When he once told her, "As long as I'm breathing, no one will ever hurt you." But now, he was breathing just fine and she was hurting. At midnight, Mama called someone else. This time, it was her pastor from the village. "Pastor, good evening, sir. Please, I need serious prayers. This house is under attack." She lowered her voice dramatically. "There's a spirit of barrenness here. This girl my son married, she carries darkness. I've seen it. She doesn't sleep at night. She walks around with red eyes. I don't know what she does in secret." Pause. "Yes, Pastor. Pray very well, because I'm beginning to believe she wants to kill me in this house." Another pause. "Send anointing oil if you can, and incense. I'll handle the rest." The next morning, Amaka woke up to the sound of loud gospel music. Ngozi was dancing in the parlor, swinging a bottle of olive oil in one hand and slapping the floor with her feet. "Holy Ghost fire! Every barren woman must confess." Mama clapped beside her. "Amen! Every dry womb must open or depart." Amaka stood in the corridor watching them. Something inside her burned, but it wasn't anger. It was deeper than that. A quiet, simmering decision. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She just turned and walked back into the guest bathroom and locked the door behind her. It started with noise. Loud footsteps in the corridor, doors slamming, raised voices. Ngozi stood in front of Amaka's wardrobe, yanking clothes from hangers like she was packing for a war. Mama stood behind her, arms folded, eyes cold. "I told you before," Mama snapped. "You will leave this house with your mouth shut, or you leave with your name ruined." Amaka stood in the corner, barefoot, watching them destroy her space. The room she once shared with her husband, the room that still smelled faintly of his cologne and her lavender spray, was no longer hers. Her dresses were flung into a black nylon bag, her shoes bundled together carelessly. "Take everything!" Ngozi shouted. "Except the perfume you sprayed in the bathroom. That one smells like disappointment." Mama snorted. "Let her go with her curses and dry womb." They pulled her things to the door like she was a criminal being evicted. Mama opened the door wide and stood like a bouncer. "You have no place here. No husband, no child, no value. Get out." Amaka didn't cry. Her lips parted slightly, but no sound came out. She picked up her small travel bag, the same one she had arrived with years ago as a new bride. She paused at the door, turned slowly, and looked at both of them. No hate, no fear, just something deeper. "I hope you sleep well tonight," she said softly. Then she walked out, down the stairs, out the gate, into the street. 2 days passed. Mama and Ngozi celebrated like queens in a stolen palace. They arranged fresh throw pillows in the parlor, cleaned the balcony, rehung a picture frame that had tilted. Even Mama called her prayer group. "She's finally gone," she announced. "The dark cloud has been lifted from this home." Ngozi posted a video on her status giggling in front of a mirror, wearing one of Amaka's old wrappers. "New madam in town," the caption read. Then on the third day, Chuka came home. He opened the door with a tired smile, dragging his suitcase. But the moment he stepped into the flat, he paused. There was silence, an unfamiliar, stiff silence. "Amaka?" he called out, placing his suitcase by the couch. No answer. Just Mama walking in with a tray of oranges. "She's gone," Mama said with a shrug. "She left. And not a moment too soon." Chuka's brows knitted. "Gone where?" "She left your house in the morning, packed her things and walked out like a thief." He blinked. "She didn't tell me anything."
Well, maybe she finally realized she doesn't belong
Mama
here.
said, biting into an orange segment. This house needs peace, and since she wasn't bringing any, she excused herself. Chuka didn't speak. He entered the bedroom, opened the wardrobe. Half of it was empty. Her scarves were gone. Her earrings. The bedsheet smelled like camphor and olive oil. Something inside him twisted. He stepped back into the parlor. "You forced her out." Mama stood. "We saved you. That woman would have ruined your future. No children, no humility, no vision. She was dragging you down." Ngozi joined in. "Exactly, bro. You deserve better." There was a knock on the door. 3 firm knocks. Chuka opened it and froze. Standing there was Amaka. Beside her was a woman, older, darker-skinned, calm-eyed, dressed in a long gown and holding her purse firmly. Her mother. Amaka didn't say a word. She walked in slowly, her head high, her face unreadable. Mama stood abruptly. "What is this? You brought your mother to fight? In a man's house?" Chuka turned to Amaka, eyes wide. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say anything?" Amaka's mother stepped forward. "We didn't come to fight. We came to collect what belongs to my daughter." Mama exploded. "Collect what? What belongs to who? This house belongs to my son. To us." Amaka turned to Chuka. "Say it," she whispered. "Now please." Chuka's chest rose and fell. His mouth trembled. He looked at his mother, his sister, then back at his wife. Then he spoke. "This house," he began quietly, "doesn't belong to me." Silence. Mama narrowed her eyes. "What are you saying?" Chuka stepped into the center of the room, his voice steadier now. "The apartment was a gift from Amaka's godfather. She's the legal owner. She paid the agent. The deed is in her name. Always has been." Mama's lips parted, but no words came. "She never said anything," Chuka continued. "She never boasted, never threw it in our faces, because she loved me. She just wanted peace." He turned toward Amaka, his face pained. "But now you've destroyed everything," he said to his mother. "You insulted her. You poured soup on her. You lied to me that she was starving you, and you chased her out of her own house." Ngozi stepped back. No, that's not true." Chuka looked at her with cold eyes. "You recorded her crying. You mocked her behind my back. You wore her clothes and laughed about it." Mama shook her head slowly. "No, you're lying. You're under her spell. This is charm." "No, Mama," Chuka said. "This is truth. And you never cared to ask for it." Mama sat down. Her knees gave way. The tray fell. Oranges rolled across the floor. "You mean, all this time, this was her house?" Chuka nodded. Amaka's mother looked at Mama with a gaze too soft to be pity. "She never disrespected you," she said. "But you showed her who you were." Mama held her chest, staring blankly. Ngozi began to cry. Amaka walked to the door, then turned around. "I'm not here to throw you out," she said quietly. "Do whatever you want with this house. Keep it. Sleep in every room. Open the fridge. Burn the clothes. I don't care." She stepped out. But her words stayed. Amaka never came back. Not to the house. Not to her job. Not to him. And within weeks, everything began to crumble. It started with an email. One cold line from the company's HR department. "Oh, we regret to inform you that your contract has been terminated effective immediately." Chuka sat at his desk, blinking at the screen. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Just some glitch in the system. But no, he was logged out of his official email within minutes. His access card stopped working the next day. No calls were returned. He went to the office in person. Security wouldn't let him past the reception. That evening, when he finally got someone from HR on the line, the voice was polite, but final. "I'm sorry, Mr. Chukwuma. We were instructed to close your file. The client who recommended you to us, Madame Amaka's godfather, rescinded all professional support. Unfortunately, your placement here was tied to her network. Without it, there's nothing we can do." That was the moment everything clicked. Amaka wasn't just his wife. She was his door. Her connections had gotten him that job in the first place. Her recommendation had kept him there. Her quiet influence had protected him from office politics. And now, she was gone. The rent for his new apartment ran out quickly. He sold his wristwatch next, then his second-best laptop. The car, repossessed within a month. He started taking buses again, sweating in the back seats, shoulder to shoulder with strangers, trying not to cry every time someone mentioned a company he once worked for. Eventually, he moved into a single room in the outskirts of town. No electricity, no running water, just a mattress, a bucket, and silence. He sent messages to everyone he knew. Most ignored him. Some replied with pity. One or two were honest. Honestly, you shouldn't have let her go. Amaka was gold. You let your mother dig her out of your life." He tried calling Amaka again. Blocked. He tried emailing her. Bounced. He even walked to her mother's old flat one evening. Nothing but a new tenant inside, who had never heard of her. She had disappeared like fog after sunrise. Mama too felt the weight. Back in the village, people no longer greeted her the same way. Some walked past her like she wasn't there. Others watched her with barely hidden smirks. "That's the woman who chased her daughter-in-law from her own house," they whispered. And now her son is in town begging for jobs. She heard it all. Her bones started to ache more. Her appetite disappeared. The church women stopped visiting. She had fought so hard to be seen, to be feared. Now all that remained was shame. And Ngozi? She drifted from friend to friend, city to city. But her face was known now. Her name tainted. She applied for makeup jobs. No one hired her. Her account went dry. She tried begging Chuka for help once, only for him to say, "Help? From what? The woman you mocked was my help, and you chased her out." Ngozi blocked his number that same day. She couldn't stand being reminded of the mess she helped make. And Amaka? No one truly knew. Some said she left the country. Some said she started her own company overseas. Others swore they saw her on a billboard in another city. Confident, glowing, unbothered. But she never came back. Not once, and she never looked back. Chuka sat one rainy night on his mattress, flipping through his old phone gallery. He stopped at a photo. Amaka, in their old kitchen, wearing his oversized t-shirt, smiling at the camera with a ladle in her hand. He stared for a long time. Then he whispered, "I destroyed my own home." But no one heard him. Because when wickedness is entertained long enough, it doesn't just chase peace away. It destroys everything around it. And when you finally open your eyes, it's already too late.